The day I came down we were talking about a lease, and then the day I came down was the 29th.
Of what, of November?
October.
October?
And I handed her the check for November's rent. She had texted me on the way down that she had Airbnb the room that night, that I was welcome to sleep on the couch. And so when I got there, I gave her the check, and then from then on, I knew it wasn't going to work for me because...
Oh, right at that moment?
Yeah, I didn't want to keep
Did
coming
you read
down.
your texts? Didn't you specifically say that you wanted to rent the premises for 3 months? And that the rent would be $1,350 or so?
We never agreed to that. She asked me to draw up
You
a
didn't
lease.
say okay in your text?
I did
to
say that, yes.
Those terms? Yes, you did.
But her words in that text were, I'll draw up a lease.
You also claim that the plaintiff didn't allow you to go back into the premises in December. Yes, Ms. Stewart?
That is not true, Your Honor. And the fact is the lease started on November 1st, and when David came down on October...
Verbal agreement you had.
It was a verbal agreement that David asked me to write up formally so he
Yes.
could submit it to his probation officer to prove that he had a place to live. And he came down on October 29th. The room was rented on Airbnb, but our lease didn't start until November 1st, and he was given the room entirely for November. And then, unfortunately, my cat of 18 years died. I buried her on November 29th, and David sent me a text through Facebook on November 30th that he was sorry, he didn't have money to pay for rent, I'm real sorry, I can't stay any longer, and oh, sorry about your cat. It was a really offensive way to tell me that you couldn't pay, and it was really a really horrible thing to do to anybody.
Mr. Perez, did you intend to insult the plaintiff?
Not at all.
With respect to her cat?
No, Amber and I we're good friends. And this just got a little messy. Every time that we communicated, the price changed, everything changed. It was just a continuous.
Well, do you deny that you made any snide remarks with respect to
No, sir, I
the
would not do
passing
that.
of her cat? Now, you claim that the plaintiff put up a shrine
Yes, sir.
to, what
Yeah,
was
and
the
I
name
sent
of,
the
what was
picture
the
to
name
you.
of your cat?
Her name was Venus. I think what you might be referring to is a picture I had sent to David on the 28th.
This is it.
That was my baby. I had in-home euthanasia, and they euthanized her right there. That was my shrine for that day until I buried her.
This is the only day that this configuration existed, is that right?
That's correct.
And you claim that this is a shrine that made you feel uncomfortable?
Yes, sir. I didn't want to be in a house with a dead animal.
David wasn't even there that day. He didn't show up until the next day.
Judge Tawalda?
Who do you have here today?
This is my friend Kristen, who did some house sitting for me in October.
Kristen, why don't you take the podium, please?
Sure.
How were you involved in this case?
Mostly I'm a friend, and I did do some pet sitting, and I had met David prior to, as this was kind of unfolding.
Okay.
David was there staying at that time for free.
Maybe once or twice on weekends?
He was trying to come down and stay as often as he could, and
Okay.
he would come on weekends. So David brought it up to me that, hey, your house is really nice. You have lots of room. Maybe you can rent me a room for 2 or 3 months or maybe longer. And I need to provide a primary residence to my probation or parole officers. So he had spent several nights in September. Then he came and he stayed some in October. And then he was really rather rude to Kristen when she was staying at my house. And she was my primary pet sitter.
Yeah, I'm following along in terms of the conversation about staying at your place and pet sitting. Did you mention to him that he was renting weekends only for $1,000 a month, so you suggested staying the whole month for $1,350?
No, originally David asked me about
Kristen,
renting.
you could have a seat.
Okay.
And I made the suggestion to him that if you only want to rent weekends, I would do it for $1,000 a month. But if you want the whole month, I have to charge you $1,350, which is very below value. And he said he wanted the whole month to make it his primary residence.
So you would rent out his room when he wasn't at home?
We made a verbal agreement
Okay.
that if he was gone and there was Airbnb potential, I would rent it and that we would split the Airbnb. And he never asked to come back in December, but I did rent it in December and I deducted that off of my...
So you never actually paid him half of the Airbnb
I never
profit?
he never gave me rent either.